My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Hey guys, so we know that the last ball technically hasn't dropped yet at the Australian Open, but the problem is that we are on time constraints. I have to get to my table tennis playing duties later. So basically we will be talking about some other matches first, while Medvedev and Tien will be wrapping up. And of course, that will also be a big segment since this is one of the biggest stories of today. But we are with Eddie going just to start with Fonseca against Sonego. That was the match where we said that, well, everybody is going to be expecting Joao to win now. And if he doesn't, there will be quite a lot of disappointment for him and for a lot of his new fans as well. So, yeah, I mean, what was your take on that loss? What sort of a setback is it? Is it a setback at all?
I mean, we have to sort of be realistic here. Yeah, obviously he's still 18, right? And obviously the hype was massive after coming through Medvedev straight sets and such a tremendous performance. And I thought, honestly, in the end, it was still a good performance in the sense that he started off well, I felt. Obviously it went to the tiebreak and, I thought the level was pretty good. It wasn't maybe as good as it has been recently, but in terms of how he dealt with the pressure, and then I felt he deserved to come out on top in that first set. But then after that, definitely the level dropped off, and we have to give some credit to his opponent as well. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I felt like second and third set, it was actually just, I mean, he was going for not that many shots. I thought, we talked about the forehand that we say that he was hitting so well, especially against Rublev. We didn't see that so much, and he just wasn't really, the level just completely dropped off, and it was quite disappointing in a way. And he had so many fans there as well on his side that he couldn't really get them. The atmosphere to change. And yeah, I mean, obviously some praise has to go to Sonego. I mean, I thought he played really well. It was very difficult for Fonseca to get into the service games. He really just couldn't create any pressure and sort of build, try and turn the tide. And really, honestly, after that third set, I thought that it was going to maybe end in 4. I didn't feel like, there wasn't anything going well really for Fonseca, not enough. And so I was kind of impressed how, he started off the fourth and sort of, managed to get the crowd back into it. But also, yeah, he got that early break and sort of maintained through a decent level through into the end of that fourth. And yeah, in the fifth, though, I did feel that he was, I was impressed that he's managing to stay close with Sonego, but at the end, he had I think what I remember in the fifth set, he had that one point where maybe it was a break point that he created, or if he got to juice, but then he was sort of trying to whip the crowd up and getting really excited because he played a really nice point. But then I remember thinking you haven't actually done anything here, and he was getting really excited. And then Sonego ended up holding, and yeah, it just felt for me at that point that it was going to be Sonego's day. And yeah, in the end, that's the way it turned out. And it wasn't the same level that we'd seen from him before. But I mean, obviously with him being so young, he still played a pretty close match against a pretty solid player, ATP level player. And, literally his first slam showing. It's maybe easy to get carried away, but I still think it's a pretty good first tournament for him in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think it's like a massive setback. Someone was already there in the chat, like, 3 hours before the stream, I saw, right, Steve, that saying that like John was riding the wave of John was riding the Fonseca wave only to crash violently on the reef. I don't know how like serious he was about it, but from this comment, I would kind of say that, like, yeah, it's not like Fonseca was never going to lose a match again from here. Like, it's not something that changes anyone's opinion on his upside, really. But indeed, Sonego did play very well, was much like kind of more dynamic than Rublev in how he was trying to attack Fonseca and keep him on the back foot. Of course, for a while, it was looking quite brutal. I think Fonseca still had some great moments. I mean, set 4 and even set 5, he has that break point at 3-all. He's like really getting into it with the crowd. There's some bits of spectacular shot making there. There's some bits of great mental focus and determination. Obviously, he doesn't get it done, only breaks Fonseca once in 5 sets, which, certainly wasn't an amazing effort in terms of the returning. But yeah, I mean, disappointments are going to be happening. He was never going to go like 50 love this season, in terms of his match record. Definitely not. And for now, I mean, let's just see where he goes from here. But if people were like kind of expecting a year-end championships type of campaign, like, yeah, that's just so optimistic, I would say. It's not impossible that he's going to get there. It's not impossible that by the US Open, we're going to be treating him as a very different type of contender. Obviously, soon he's probably going to make his top 100 debut. But yeah, I mean, it would simply be unwise to expect him to just cruise through, 5-6 matches here and actually be a contender to win the title at this point of his career. But yeah, I mean, kudos to Fonseca for playing a good match. And I just don't think this was like that major of a disappointment, even considering that, some people right now will be on Twitter, of course, just saying, oh, actually, he's a fraud,
Yeah, that's getting carried away as well. I mean, that's going the other way, just, oh, this guy's nothing. But like, yeah, just got to be realistic and say, this guy's 18. I mean, at the same age, Sinner was, the Sinner's first few, I mean, was it 5 years ago? He was at the Australian Open. He lost in the second round to who was it? Marton Fucsovics. It was straight set. So yeah, I mean, like, he's so young. There's still so much development to go in his game, but there's still. I mean, we should be impressed. I mean, the way that he handled Rublev in the previous match. I mean, I still think that was an extremely impressive, dominant performance and mentally. As well, for an 18-year-old to do that. So yeah, and still you're forgetting, obviously he lost this match against Sonego, but I mean, how many matches in a row had he won, including next gen and the challenger, the qualies? It was like 14 matches. Yeah. So I mean, it's to expect him to go all the way and like win more matches. I mean, he's just he is human, and he, that would be really extraordinary if he did go on. Obviously, we've got that other match going on at the moment with because he would have gone through and possibly eventually, if he had gone through, he would have been playing Marochan right in the next match. That's who Sonego will play.
And if he went through Marochan, then he probably could have played Tien or Medvedev. Indeed, we just had Daniel Medvedev serving for the match. And what's insane is that Lerner Tien has just broke him. And that was a crazy rally too, with like Medvedev using that out wide serve and Lerner hitting basically around the net post. And all that's happening here in this match is absolutely crazy. We're going to get to that pretty soon when the tiebreak finishes. Of course, we're both keeping an eye on that with Eddie and how it's progressing so that we can give you the best possible info on it when it actually does finish. Oh wow. Anyway, for now, I think maybe you can just talk about some other results on the men's side then, since that's what we're starting from. Clearly, that was probably the biggest story alongside this match, definitely. But also we had Jannik Sinner losing a set. Maybe let's head there. He lost a set to Tristan Skulkate today. Generally speaking, I barely saw the match, but I heard that Tristan was like, of course, very successful. His net approaches in the opening set. He's a bit of a like just hyper aggressive player with not that much thought in his point construction, but he can just sort of like throw himself at you. But after that, Sinner did cruise, although from what people have been saying, it's not like his level was like, pristine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I didn't see that first set, which is probably the most important part.
Yeah.
But I was sort of joined at the end of the second, and yeah, from what I did see, I mean, I thought, Sinner was looking okay, and in these early rounds, really, it is just about sort of getting through for him. I mean, I thought he was good enough in terms of. I saw some pretty nice plays from him, and to be honest, like he never at that point, yeah, he didn't look like losing, right? Schoolgate, of course he's going to be so motivated in front of his own crowd, right? And obviously he gave it his all, and yeah, you expect that a little bit. It is a bit shocking though for Sinner though to lose a set, but he came through against that first round. It was a difficult first round against Jari, and I thought he handled that pretty well. So does it bode, is it bad for his tournament so far? I don't think so. Obviously now he'll go through and he'll have to play against Marcos Giron, and I expect that might be a bit simpler for him. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I still don't feel like he's gonna struggle against Giron. I mean, he's drawn the second, third round. It's not actually all that competitive after the Jari one, but maybe we'll be looking at that Rune fourth round as like a potential. I don't know if a loss for Yannick, but still a match where he might struggle. The rivalry so far has been very, very entertaining, and this is actually a very good segue as well to talk about Holger Rune, who defeated Matteo Berrettini in a 4-setter. Very impressive. He's like 4-1 up against Matteo in the head-to-head now. But was it an easy match? I mean, considering he saved 2 set points in the opener and also 2 set points in the fourth set, well, that kind of says it all. Matteo also was 5-3 up, and these set points came on serve in the opening set.
Yeah, and that's an impressive win. I mean, after his first round, Rune, which I did see some of that match against Zhang, it wasn't particularly impressive. I felt like, it wasn't a particularly impressive performance from Rune. But then, so I kind of thought, well, maybe Berrettini will be able to get the win this time. But yeah, I mean, for Rune to come through those tight moments and get through in 4 against Berrettini does bode well for him, and he needs something to build on. I mean, his sort of decline has been quite surprising for a lot of people, but I mean, given the expectations that were on him earlier on, like a year or two ago. So, but I do think that it does set it up for an interesting fourth round, and I mean, maybe I mean, everyone was saying that Sinner had an easy draw, and the draw did look easy on paper, but Rune could actually really test him this time, as he's not got the pressure that that maybe he would have felt before. But yeah, I think now he's going to be really fired up for it, and yeah, if it does happen, it's one that I'll be looking forward to, that fourth round.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there were some common points between this Holger win and the one he had against Zhizhen Zhang in the fourth round, in the first round, sorry, in the sense that against Triple Z, there was also like this long part of the match after the opening set where he was fully in control. He was playing like pretty economically, but just defending well and basically being able to get through while not like pushing for the openings of that match, and just playing pretty smart tennis, which is also not that common for Holger. And then, of course, it all fell apart. And in the fifth set, he was very tired against Zhang, and he had to like just go for broke. Today, maybe not as much, but there was that moment when Matteo breaks back in the fourth set. The momentum is with him very much. Holger takes an MTO. I don't know if it was tactical or not. Definitely it was a pretty good moment for an MTO, if you know what I mean, with the wrist. And after that, I think there was a clear change in his attitude towards the match, towards how he was, competing in the rallies. He started pressuring the Matteo backhand a little bit more, which I think worked perfectly fine as just like a way of stopping all that momentum that suddenly Berrettini was building up. Of course, it wasn't easy. He still had to save these 2 set points, this time on his serve, on the contrary to the opening set. But yeah, I mean, definitely you have to be pleased with these 2 performances. And I think you're right to point out that kind of, even with a loss to Sinner, but a competitive one in the fourth round, at this point, it would still feel like Holger has made some progress from where he's been the entire, 1.5 years, let's say, more or less that. I am kind of struggling to put words together because I am watching that Tien Medvedev match. We are still, though, far away from completion in that deciding set tiebreak. So I think we might just actually sorry to the producer, but I think we might actually just keep talking about some other men's matches simply because we're pressed for time, and then kind of come to that Medvedev Tien match maybe when it's like 2 points away from finishing or something like that. I actually don't know if there's... Oh, yeah, there are some more stories on the men's side. So Hubert Hurkacz lost to Miomir Kecmanovic in 3 sets. And obviously he didn't break Miomir. Like, that's maybe not that shocking. But at the same time, he got broken 4 times. And yeah, it was just a pretty disappointing performance from the Pole. I mean, this is just another round to exit. But do you think that we should be just like, pretty worried about that, considering that this is something that happens to Hurkacz at the slams? Or do we still need to give him more time, considering the knee injury and considering the new partnerships with, in terms of the coaching?
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's cause to be extremely worried yet, but I mean, I think this is definitely a slam where he would be hoping to be able to do well. So from that perspective, and it's going to be a while before the next slam that I would expect him to do well, obviously in Wimbledon. So, I mean, yeah, from that point of view, it's disappointing, but yeah, I mean, there's still opportunities for him to sort of build that up over the next few months anyway, before we go into clay. So yeah, let's, I mean, straight sets loss though is maybe slightly concerning. But yeah, I mean, the another result that I saw today though, which was pretty good result for him at 38 years of age, is Monfils' straight set win over Daniel Altmaier, obviously after having won that 5-setter against Mpeshi Parikar. So yeah, I mean, he's shown that he can still do it, especially after just winning in Auckland. I think getting a couple of wins here is pretty impressive. But then you'll have to go through and play against Taylor Fritz in the next round, which I think that might be too difficult for him to get through. But still, it was a pretty dominant performance there as well. I think in the last set, he went down a break. He was up a break and then Altmaier came back. And then, but yeah, he still in the end got it done in the tie break. So yeah, pretty good all rounds for him so far.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, just to get it done in 3 at this stage of his career is certainly massive. As you said, the Auckland champion, so he has the momentum. But will he have the stamina? Well, okay, as I'm saying that, I'm again kind of like taken aback by the Lerner Tien forehand drop shot here, as he is now 5-6 down. But yeah, I mean, against Taylor, it might be a very different story, but he's kind of done everything we would have expected from Monfils this event. Yeah, with Hurkacz, I think the one thing was that like every single part of his draw was tough. First round, Griekspoor. Third round, Rune or Berrettini. Fourth round, Sinner, very likely. And the second round was the one sort of like island that was supposed to be, the one safe place, right, for Hurkacz, where, yeah, he's probably not losing here. So it's a disappointing showing, no doubt. But as you said, we do kind of have to give him a bit more time. But, he's trying to improve his performance at the slams. Obviously, his coaching changes have been like showing that ambition. And so far, this is obviously not the perfect way to get going with that. After this point that I'm watching right now, we will probably have the very last changeover of that tiebreak between Medvedev and Tien. So maybe that would be a good moment to swap to that match. However, I mean, I'm still watching it and the point is still going. And the point is still going. And maybe, yeah, let's just talk about it then. So Lerner Tien and Daniil Medvedev, even before we have the winner, we have them in the 5th set, and it's been a fascinating encounter.
Yeah, unbelievable, really. I mean, I say unbelievable. Tien is obviously someone that, I mean, you're well aware of. He's done so well in the American Challenger circuit, and obviously coming into this in good form, having reached the finals of the Next Gen finals, and then obviously qualifying as well, similarly to Fonseca on that kind of trajectory. Tien's a little bit older. He's 19, right? But obviously I've got a lot of potential. But yeah, won that set first 6-3, right? I didn't see it, but then obviously second set still very competitive, and a lot of we had a lot of breaks exchanged over the next 2 sets, and I actually it's just an interesting battle in the sense that very similar playing styles. Tien a little bit more, let's say, like, athletic, and actually, I'm impressed with the way that he was handling this mentally. He just seems very calm. His backhand down the line is very effective and very, potent shot at times. And then, he's got a little bit of creativity, and just like there was a few. I remember a few lobs that he hit, and he was driving Medvedev crazy, right? When he got, it was one of the breaks back. I mean, I think he got the warning, didn't he, Medvedev? That was for unsportsmanlike conduct, and then into that third set, that he probably really would have wanted to win that third set to get this match done. I mean, this match isn't over. We're still in that fifth set, still tight in this 10-point tiebreaker. I see it as at 7-6, but Tien, he did have a match point, but it was Medvedev actually hit an ace, right, to get out of that, and then it was actually Medvedev who stepped up and he hit like a forehand winner that was just he hadn't done it too much before that, but then he stepped up and he eventually took that 10-8 in that tiebreak, and it felt crucial because then just Tien just dropped off, didn't he? I mean, and then especially once it got to, he went down a break and then it was 4-1, and then he just kind of like started hitting wild shots. I mean, just a bit. Obviously, he just kind of lost interest a bit, or he wasn't prepared for the physical battle. Obviously, feeling some tiredness, I think, but now we are here, and he's battling away in this fifth set in this tiebreaker, and it's become really quite a bit of an incredible battle, and you maybe wouldn't have thought that Tien had it in him, but here he is battling away, and he's up a mini break, as I can see. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here today, Damien.
Yeah. I mean, I think that just one of the things you said, the phrase that he was driving Medvedev crazy, like that's such a cornerstone of Lerner's game, just making the opponent's life miserable. And he's been doing that to so many players over the past 12 months or so. In the qualifying here, he gets outplayed by Gregoire Barrère in like the first set and a half. And he just starts making the existence of the Frenchman a complete nightmare. And he's doing that to one of the best players in the world right now. Like the patterns of play are very similar for both of them. Yes, Lerner definitely just a little more technical, a little more athletic, a little more in using that slice, which is also safer. Whereas Daniil, he's just forcing him to inject pace, forcing him to generate it. Inside the top 50, you probably won't find a player who, like, as Medvedev, is just like so unable to do it. And that's actually kind of a perfect opponent in a way for Lerner. And he's just made him work for this so hard, and he gets the win 10-7 in the deciding point tiebreak, which is also so impressive because
you're a point ahead of you.
In the fourth set, the bubble had burst, like the physical bubble kind of had burst, and it seemed like Medvedev will, just steer towards the win from there. But Lerner actually gets this done, and it's almost 5 hours, which is another impressive physical effort. He also spent 5 hours on the court in his opening round against Ugo Carabelli. But the way you can simply put it, the most simple manner, he outplayed Medvedev at his own game. He just literally made Daniil struggle to compete with his usual tactics. He made him look for something that is a little more uncomfortable, a little more unnatural. And somehow he was able to keep going for almost 5 hours.
Yeah, just super impressive in terms of mentally. I mean, he still looked quite calm in this fifth set. And just, I mean, I said in the fourth set, obviously he was feeling it, right? Tiredness, but, it did feel he was throwing that fourth set, but it felt more like a tactical thing. And obviously, I would say it's worked out for him here because he's come back and battled all the way and won this 10-point tiebreaker. But maybe that just gave him the little sort of second win that he needed. And there's no doubt that he's a talented player. I mean, obviously we've had 3 teenagers now beat top 10 players. Obviously, Fonseca, who we've talked about, beat Rublev in straight sets. And then we had the Jakub Menšik knockout and Kasper Ruud. And this one in 5 of Tien against Medvedev, which is perhaps the most impressive ones. I don't know, because maybe Fonseca doing that in straight sets was so dominant was maybe pips it, but this one being a 5-set battle that you maybe thought he wouldn't wasn't quite ready for. To do it against a guy like Medvedev, who he likes to have that. He's capable of playing these long exchanges and keeping going for a long time. Then, yeah, very impressive. And I think if people didn't know who he was before, I think people do now. Learn at the end.
Yeah, we're probably gonna leave like sort of like big picture comments about how this can translate into like big titles and anything. If this can translate into like very different, we're probably gonna leave it for like another stream, another time, because it just doesn't feel like it's the most relevant moment right now for it. I mean, right now we should just kind of celebrate the win and celebrate how the American was able to basically do whatever he was doing, on the Challenger Tour last year against a very different like caliber of opposition as well. Sure, a matchup that like suits it because it's not a power player, it's someone who is going to be like struggling to outpush him in the rallies. But still an incredibly impressive win. I think the ones that you mentioned, so basically Fonseca, Menchik, Tien, it's very clear that the Menchik one is so different because he's had a lot more time at the top already. And he was like, pretty much a 50-50 favorite against Kasper. Whereas these two wins, of course, from Joao and from Lerner. So the next gen finals champion and runner up, by the way, they do stand out a little bit more for sure. And what an incredible effort in the fifth set, especially. And someone else mentioned earlier that it's too bad that Miles Davis is missing out on all this action, Damien, says Brazy. This is, of course, in reference to a certain Twitter discussion that I sort of participated in just a second ago. And basically, Miles said that there are like so many unnecessary 5-setters in the Grand Slams. And basically was kind of advocating for the best of 3 format there, similarly to Ben Rodenberg. And I just said, this was after the third set, that this is a great example of a 5-setter that is very necessary because it completely like changes the entire story. This is a 5-setter that is going to make you either for Medvedev, it could have been one of the most impressive comebacks of his career, even if it's against an opponent like this, considering how uncomfortable he was today. Or for Tien, it makes this win even more. It makes this win even more memorable. But when Lerner lost the fourth set 1-6 and he was looking so down physically, I was thinking, oh no, it's actually going to be like Miles is right now. But I can take the win now. And yes, it was necessary for this match to be 5 sets. We love these stories. We love these matches. And it's certainly going to be one of the most memorable of the entire Australian Open so far.
Yeah, I will not hear any anti-best of 5 talk. I'm not going to entertain that. And I mean, this is just a perfect illustration of just, it's just at its best, slam tennis, best of 5 is just pure cinema, really. I mean, like the way that Medvedev just sort of stepped up in that third set and sort of just changed the whole complexion. But then of course then Tien comes back in that fifth set and it's just and it was a very competitive fifth set, both of them really going for it, and then here we are and Tien's pulled off an incredible upset. I mean, I hadn't seen too much other than some of the next gen and bits of clips of from the challengers and obviously coming into this I'd seen some of the qualies, but this is really impressive and just it's going to be interesting now because I mean it's also like he's not really the interesting thing with he's not really done anything on the ATP tour yet, so we haven't really seen him on the main tour. So just to get this win so early is quite amazing, really. And I guess we'll be seeing him soon in some of the American. We've got Miami and Indian Wells and stuff coming up. We'll be seeing him there, but.
Yeah, I mean, with Lerner, definitely right now, it still feels like we don't actually know all that much on how he's going to be able to handle himself in the long run because it's so matchup reliant, right? I mean, he goes 5 sets with Ugo Carabelli, who's not a good hardcourt player, but that's a dogfight. And this is also a dogfight, even though he's playing Daniel Medvedev, the hardcourt specialist, a Grand Slam champion on hardcourts, multiple Grand Slam runner-up on hardcourts. And yet the matches are like very similar, actually. So, it's going to be very intriguing to follow the journey for sure. So as it is, I guess, with many like quirky playstyles. And the funny thing is that the next match he's also going to face a quirky playstyle. He's going to face Corentin Moutet. So that's going to be another chess match, basically.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's very likely for Lerner to be involved in three like this entire event.
Creativity and slices and drop shots and who knows, probably a bunch of lobs again from Tien. Yeah, intriguing. But yeah, and maybe, I mean, he could get through that. And then in the fourth round, who knows how far he's going to go. But yeah, he's just got to enjoy this for the moment. And yeah, who would have thought Medvedev? I mean, the first round, 5 sets from Samrej. I would put my Tennis Asia twist on this. So Samrej is obviously from Thailand. But yeah, Tien's American, but I think he's got Southeast Asian heritage because his parents are from Vietnam. So yeah, you just wouldn't have expected that at the beginning of a slam like this. 2 5-setters from Medvedev in these circumstances, kind of amazing. But where does Medvedev go from here? That's what I think. But that's quite a really disappointing one.
Yeah, Ghosty. I mean, would it be fair to say that he's ethnically Vietnamese? I'm just referencing a joke from a while ago, which was related to Buyun Choketa. Anyway, not the most important thing right now. Lerner Tien, the Vietnamese #1 over Tyson Kwiatkowski and Nam Hoang Le. But yeah, anyway, let's talk about the women's draw now, I guess. So we've already spent about 30 minutes on this, and we only have about 30 minutes left. So basically, I know that some of the matches that you watched, for example, was Raducanu against Anisimova. And yeah, I mean, was it just very similar to that opening round win that she had over Alexandrova? What do you think about Emma's tournament so far? And then we'll, after you give me your take on that, we'll definitely mention the match that she has coming up next.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty impressive performance in the sense that, I mean, I thought that Anisimova was playing well. I mean, you know, that she's a powerful hitter. And, you know, I think, yeah, Emma did actually go down a break in that first set and then before coming back and winning it. In the second set, yeah, she went down as well, right? She went down 3-love before coming back. And she did take that medical timeout. But yeah, I mean, in the end, I thought it was a really impressive win for Emma. Some of the defense was incredible that she was pulling off in that second set. There was that long point that I really thought she was just going to lose, but then somehow she hit that incredible slice that, you know, just bamboozled Anisimova, and she hit it long. And then, yeah, obviously coming through a tight 2 sets and an opponent that she could easily have lost to, I think does bode well. Maybe a little bit still worried about her serving at the moment, but then yeah, I mean, clearly she still, I thought overall she played well in terms of her general play though. And I would say though, yeah, I mean, going through to play Swiatek, who we can talk about as well, who came through a very, well, let's say, I mean, she only lost 2 games, right, against her in the second round. So yeah, difficult. It's going to be really difficult for Raducanu, and she's going to have to step up and yeah, I mean, I don't know what the game plan is going to be, but it's going to have to be. I mean, I think she's had one match before that was sort of somewhat close, right? She lost in 2 sets. I can't remember where that was, but. Yeah, we've got it up there. The previous matches, there was the one in Stuttgart, 7-6, 6-3. Yeah, so she was, but that was on clay, and I guess this is on a hard court, which, you know, in theory should be more comfortable for Emma. But I mean, we can see from the results of what you know, Swiatek's gone through that it's, you know, she's still clearly in a high, playing at a high level. So Emma really is going to have to play beyond probably something that we've seen from her before. But yeah, but nonetheless, a great win for her today.
Yeah, I think that it was very similar, definitely, to that first set to that first round against Alexandrova. Just an opponent that will come out, try to blast her off the court. There's not much you can do really about it, other than just try to survive. And when these little moments come, when you can be a little bit more offensive, or when you can attack the second serve of the opponent, you need to be there and step up, and that's what she did. As you said, 0-3 in the second set, MTO. I think it was less tactical than the Rune one. I think, there was seriously something with that left leg that she needed treatment on. She also got it on the changeover later. So then it wasn't an MTO, but like she was still getting some help with that, but obviously was able to pull through. Swiatek Raducanu, yeah, we've had some pretty decent matches between them. I mean, probably only really the Stuttgart ones. Sure. It's very different conditions, indoor clay, that slick indoor court. Yeah, it doesn't really compare to anything else. But it is still an exciting one. I mean, obviously the big names, the narrative, Emma, very different in the sense that she got that one kind of like random title out of nowhere and she still hasn't followed it up. But Iga at some point was, I guess, in a similar position. Her title at a slam was also quite unexpected and also similarly dominant. I think she also didn't drop a set, just like of course Emma didn't on the way to the 2021 US Open title. Very different trajectory since, but it's always one that's going to like cause a lot of stir, because like when you think about people like players right now who get the most social media attention, who get the most clicks on the WTA side, like Swiatek and Raducanu are very much in the top 5. So we know that eyes will be on that match. Maybe even 2, as the producer is suggesting, but I think I've actually heard that golf is producing insane numbers, at least in the US audiences. Like if the website or whatever is US based, golf is even more important right now than Raducanu or Swiatek. But obviously, maybe we just have a different demographic on talking tennis. Either way, I don't actually expect the match to be all that competitive. It's not like we've learned that much about Iga's performances, about Iga's level so far from the 2 performances yet. But it would be an extra step for Emma. It would be a very different match that she has to play in terms of the tactics as well. Just she's not going to be attacked with such a flat ball as by Anisimova, as by Alexandrova. There's that shape, there's that spin and power combination from Iga. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more tricky, but still definitely a hype match that people will be excited to watch, and hopefully it will deliver just like their Stuttgart clashes did. In terms of some of the other favorites that progressed, Elena Rybakina defeated Ivajovic, so she continues her run over the young talents. She basically is a massive gatekeeper at this event. I know that he also caught some of that clash, and Rybakina's 6-love, 6-3 win.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of didn't really think this would be competitive, but I just, in the back of my mind, I remember, she has had some wins over some good players, and there was the last in the US Open she was competitive against it was Alexandrova, right? They lost in 3, but yeah, I mean, I hadn't really seen her Ivajovic before, but although too much, but I was aware of her results and things like that, and so yeah, I didn't see the first set. It was clearly Rybakina just like overpowered her, and yeah, Jovic is still quite I mean, she's 17, but she's not got a lot of weight or power there, so she did manage to fight back a little bit because she got up a break in that second set. But yeah, I mean, that didn't last long, and really Rybakina, yeah, she just was dominant from there on. So we can't say that this tells us too much about Rybakina's form really in this term. Obviously, having come through 2 youngsters, where yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy first couple of rounds, and really actually it's what because wasn't an ideal situation around her at the moment in terms of like things going on behind the scenes, and then obviously she had time out at the end of last year, but so there's maybe some doubt about how well she might be able to do this time. But I think just with the draw and the way things are playing out, and I personally, from what I've seen from Rybakina, she still looks pretty good. I mean, there's not any obvious signs for me that she's she's too affected by anything. So yeah, she'll go through, right, and she'll play against Yastremska is the next one. I mean, it's not with seeds that she could have played in the third round. It's not particularly tough. So it's why I expect her still to get far in this tournament.
I guess depends how you look at it. I mean, semi-finalist from last year, also someone who just like pummels the ball, just the same as Rybakina. So you're gonna be in that hard-hitting contest, and it's kind of who gets it better. Kind of similar to Medvedev Tien, I guess, today, in the sense that you know that the playstyles are similar, and then you just basically are competing for who executes it better. Of course, the playstyles couldn't be any different between that match and this one, but still. And the Jastrzębska did actually lose just one game against Danka Kovinic today. I'm not saying that's like a massive indicator though, because Danka was out for a while and only came back in like November last year. Not really much to say about some of the other favorites like Paolini, who once again progressed pretty easily. We had another comeback effort from Emma Navarro, who went from 2-4 down to 6-4 against Zhu Wang. I think something we could talk about, though, is Katie Bolter going out to Weronika Kudermetova, as I think some of us were definitely expecting that this could be a massive event for Katie, considering her draw and kind of how everybody around seemed to be out of form.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any of that one. I was following the score a little bit, and that first set she was behind, wasn't she? And she came back and it went to the tiebreak, and then obviously she's lost it. But then did well to fight back, and disappointing. And she's sort of disappointed really in the majors, hasn't really, relative to how she's done on the WTA tour. Obviously, I mean, 22nd seed, she would definitely be expecting to go further. I suppose it is disappointment really if you're a Katie Bolter fan, but I mean, especially because she ended well. Wasn't it in Hong Kong? She got to the final as well at the end of last year, so she's hoping maybe she could carry on in that some of that form forward. But and obviously, she's done well, pretty good performances at the United Cup. But I mean, disappointing, and there's nothing else to say really. Did you see that match at all?
Not really. I think at that point I was watching like Freeman's matches or something like that. But I was one of these people who thought that Katie could go very deep in this event. I mean, partially I was just aware that this is an overreaction to the Iga performance at the United Cup, and basically thinking, okay, if she brings that level, she probably will reach like the fourth round or the quarters. But at the same time, there was nobody else to pick in that section. I mean, literally everybody was out of form, including Miss Weronika Kudermetova, who manages to make the third round. And well, who knows? Maybe she's motivated by the success of her sister, who is currently ahead of her in the rankings. But if Weronika can keep winning, then maybe we're going to have another basically exchange between them in terms of the number one in the family. There's also Collins, which I think we should talk about, even though I didn't see the match and I don't think you did either. But there was some interesting drama there. First of all, with her in the crowd, and then also with Destiny Ayava on Twitter after.
On Twitter, yes. Obviously, I mean, we know how the crowds can be in Melbourne. Obviously, the Aussies are going to get behind their own players. I don't know how bad or how boisterous the crowd was, but obviously Danielle Collins didn't take too kindly to it, and she kind of gave it a bit back to the crowd after she eventually won in 3 sets. And I mean, it didn't seem like there was bad blood between them, because at the handshake it seemed fine at the end, but then she had an issue with the crowd there. I mean, you've probably seen it. I mean, if you haven't, you can just go on Twitter or somewhere, you'll be able to find it. But then she obviously left that Destiny Ayava, she left the Twitter message that she subsequently deleted. I know that it involved an expletive, but that we probably shouldn't say here. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I think she also kept going, as in she deleted that post because she also said later that someone basically suggested that she should. I don't know if it was someone from her management or whatever, but basically there was more in terms of her replies later, where she just kind of kept going about being very disappointed with this loss, and maybe even suggesting that Daniel, I don't know. It didn't seem like there was anything very indicative of her saying that Collins was acting wrong or something like that. But either way, quite a fun sort of like background story there to the match that we didn't watch, so we can't really say what happened there. Collins says not Keys again. So what's the head-to-head between Collins and Keys? I don't actually know. Is that why it's suggested in the chat?
Collins is playing Madison Keys next, so that's potentially fireworks there.
Okay, just 2-1 in the head-to-head, so I guess not the worst. Of course, the Strasbourg final last year was pretty easy for Maddie, but that was on clay.
Right. Obviously, Madison's coming into this in very good form, so she's definitely favoured, I think, in this. But you never know. I mean, Collins has obviously come through that win there. She seems to be fired up. So just see how she does on the day. She's more than capable of, performing at this high level. So let's see how it goes. But I don't know. That one's going to be on Saturday, right? Saturday.
2 days time. By the way, Nurlan has now woken up, which is very funny because the last time he was here, we asked him like, what does he feel about his Fonseca prediction that he's in gigantic amount of trouble against Rublev, and then he never responded. But now he's here asking, does Fonseca's loss prove that Andrei Rublev was at his 30% in that match? No, Nurlan. Players don't tend to be at the same level, at the same quality, at the same intensity every single day. In fact, tennis is also a game of matchups. In fact, form of the day is pretty much the most important part of generally any encounter. So, the answer is yes. You still made a horrible prediction, Nurlan. Own up to it. Anyway.
I would say one thing in Fonseca is like, I think a lot of other players, having gone down 2-1, would have just gone on and lost that fourth set. So
that's true.
I think he did well to come back, even though he wasn't playing his best. And that's just what I'm going to say.
Besides, we're talking about 18 and 19-year-old players here, like you mentioned, Fonseca, Tien. I mean, consistency of performances between days is not what you're going to expect from them. And even Lerner is a good example of that in this event. I mean, get this Lerner from the Medvedev matchup here, and then look at the Ugo Carabelli one. Or even look at the one that played in the qualifying against Grégoire Barrère in the first round, for example. So, it's literally just not the same, obviously. When it comes to the women's draw, do we have anything more? I mean, someone was talking about Navarro. Yeah, I am also, Kirit, siding with you in that I think she more so find a way rather than Ziyu Wang gave her the match or something like that. You mentioned Keys, though. Yeah, she also had a thrilling clash today against Elena Gabriela Ruse. Kind of the latest in a, not that long a history, but still a history indeed of Ruse's close losses at a slam to top quality players. That started like years back at Wimbledon against Radwanska and is continuing, of course, with the Badosa exit at the US Open. Very close to winning there, but also here against Madi, she definitely had a chance. But I think that's more or less it when it comes to the women's action from today. In the doubles, of course, there was also a ton. We had Kyrgios and Kokinakis coming onto the court and then retiring. I mean, I'm sure they were very motivated to play the event as the former champions, and who knows, maybe this is indeed Nick's last Australian Open, but neither was fit. So because we have like 10 minutes left, I think it's probably best that we talk about what's going to happen tomorrow and basically what we're most excited for in that lineup. Let's maybe start with the women's matches. Is the clear headliner here Osaka Bencic, or is there anything else that you also are dying to watch?
That definitely stands out. I was some intrigue in terms of just big names, but also ones that are sort of coming back and seem to be playing really well. So especially Osaka, I mean, I was super impressed with how she came back against Mukova. And I mean, I felt like she had it in her, but I mean, I think that was even, still surprised me a bit. And I definitely think that's one to watch. I mean, there is, I don't know, with Coco Gauff against Leylah Fernandez, I don't know if that's, I mean, do you think that's going to be competitive? I mean, I do think I had Coco Gauff maybe going to the final and winning the whole thing, but Leylah's sort of done okay this tournament. So maybe it's going to be an interesting battle there. But anything else that you've sort of looking at there?
Nurlan, we already did a preview on Raducanu Swiatek. I know that John will be clipping it after this this stream, so maybe you can watch it there or just rewind whenever you can. We just did it at the very start of that. Yeah, I mean, I expect that you see an upset in that matchup. Yes, Nurlan, I know your preferences by now. But yeah, we basically did that already. And of course, it's for Saturday. We're just talking about the preview for tomorrow now. I mean, Goff Fernandez, I have zero hopes for after the United Cup. That was just like such a brutal showing. I know that maybe Goff hasn't been playing at the same level, but what I saw there, just in terms of the effectiveness of the serve from Coco being such a massive factor, and if she can get that forehand to be so aggressive again, then yeah, I don't know if I really see any issues for her there. Badosa Kostyuk, that stand out to me quite a lot, as if Marta can get into like that sort of shape that she was for most of 2024. Sabalenka Tauson, I mean, to me, this is always an interesting encounter simply because of how talented Clara is, and even with all the injuries over the years, you know, she still has the elite ball striking talent. So I just kind of want to watch it to see how it goes. But yeah, Osaka Bencic is probably the standout. I have very high hopes for Belinda in her comeback, but obviously Naomi, you know, she's like kind of there already with the level. We know that she's not in the rankings, she's not back in the top 10 or the top 20, but can she play like this on the day? Absolutely. She did play like this for 2 sets against Karolina Muchova. Of course, last year she had another great Grand Slam matches. But yeah, I mean, Bencic seems like a pretty tough matchup. I think just like on paper, it's not an easy opponent if Belinda can play something close to her best herself.
Yeah, and it's maybe like a sort of close to 50-50, that one, to be honest. But Sabalenka Tauson, maybe. I mean, can Tauson really test her? That is intriguing. And of course, you know, that one is you know, the outcome of that one, and you know, the winner of that may have to go on and play Mira Andreeva. She's playing against Magdalena Frech. So yeah, I mean, that's one to look forward to, maybe perhaps in the 4th round. Diana Schneider against Donna Vekic is also quite a close match. I was saying that Schneider maybe is a sort of dark horse maybe this tournament, because we were talking, John and I, well, I mentioned that and he said that that's more of a real dark horse, because we were talking about dark horses and what constitutes a dark horse. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, some interesting battles there, I think, and yeah, a lot to look forward to.
There's hardly any lopsided matches basically on the lineup for the women tomorrow, which makes it really exciting. Even if you have like Goff Fernandez or Danilovic Pekula, you know, these are like players with upset potential. I don't know if I actually trust that they will do it tomorrow, but there's definitely a fair few more semi-duds on the men's side, which is where we're gonna go now. And well, in terms of that, we have, of course, there are still like the 3 big favorites in the bottom half, so Zverev, Alcaraz, and Djokovic. And I think it's not like not gonna be a controversial thing to say that Djokovic has the toughest and the most exciting matchup tomorrow against Tomas Machac.
100%. Yeah, Machac, yeah, he obviously he will enjoy these conditions, especially, I mean, actually, what time are they playing? It's the evening match, was it?
Yes, yeah, it's the first match of the evening session. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, maybe he would have preferred it during the day, but like, yeah, I mean, just a really tough one for Djokovic, because obviously had trouble in his first 2 rounds, and Machac on the other hand, I mean, well, he had a tough one against Opelka, but you know, it's not that tough in terms of sort of like you know, like grueling rallies or anything. But yeah, but coming through that one was good for him. And then he obviously came through his first round relatively simply against Nagal. Obviously, yeah, but Djokovic, yeah, struggling more than you'd expect against Bazavaredi and Jaime Faria. So he's going to have to be at his best, I think, Djokovic, to get through this one. And I think, yeah, pressure for Andy Murray on his shoulders as well there. But other match there, the rematch of the Tokyo final, right? The Hugo Umber against Arthur Fils in the 3rd round in John Cain Arena. And yeah, I think that could be another good one there. In terms of the other matchups, you know, some of them are not as, I mean, you got Jakub Mensik against Davidovich Fokina. That's also potential to be a good match. Fernley, first match against Zverev. It's very difficult though. Zverev is playing so well, and a lot of people are expecting him to go all the way to the final. I mean, Fernley, I think he'll be doing well too if he can get a set in that one. So, yeah.
Is it like a 50-50 on whether he gets a set?
Fernley against Zverev. Yeah. I mean, it's Akidi's. I think Fernley's playing well enough at the moment that he can probably keep it close, but winning a set is sort of like, I'm not necessarily expecting that to happen, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if Mahac goes down to Djokovic like without a fight, especially considering what we've seen from Novak so far and how their matchup as well has gone. Kind of similar players as well in the sense that they'll always be looking for that backhand down the line. Just they're waiting for the opportunity to strike. Of course, different approach to the game. Mahac takes it so much earlier, so much more aggressive, but still, it's there's a nice correlation there that I think has basically led to their rivalry looking very close, even back in Dubai 2023, which was of course Novak 2 years younger and Mahac kind of before his big main tour explosion. I am also very excited about Humbert against Fields. This is going to be another like such a tough matchup for Arthur. He's played Virtanen, Alice, big hitters. And now he has Humbert, who is, well, both a big hitter, but at the same time also a lefty. And we've seen even in Tokyo, even in that win, that he was somehow able to get how tough that match was on him. Generally speaking, I'm definitely excited for the Czech trio to play. So Mahac, Lehečka, and Menšík. If all of them progress, then Lehečka and Mahac would actually play each other. But of course, that would require Thomas to defeat Novak. When it comes to your question, the producer, about the commentary, the main thing is that like I can't really commit for Djokovic Mahac because I just cannot promise that I will be awake, whereas I can commit for Sabalenka Tauson. However, if it happens that I do Sabalenka Tauson and then I'm awake at 9 a.m., then I'd probably be glad to do Mahac Djokovic as well. But yeah, again, it's just not something that I can promise, given that 9 a.m. This week is a rough time for me. Usually I'm just like half asleep and, just waking up for the night session matches. But we'll see. I mean, for now, I just can't make any promises. But yeah, that's kind of what I like the most on the men's side, I guess. And I think that's kind of fair to say that there's just a few more matches here where there's a clear favorite, like Zverev, like Alcaraz, like Tommy Paul against Carballes Baena, like Lehečka against Bonzi. So there's like just maybe half the schedule that looks very exciting on paper, whereas the women tomorrow will actually kind of have the chance to shine. And let's also all get excited for that one. I mean, yeah, any finishing thoughts? What is the most extravagant I have ever used? Extravagant word I have ever used? No, Nurlan, I don't know how to answer this. Off the top of my head, no idea. Ventriloquist is the one that comes to mind, but I don't know if I actually used it in any commentary or streams. Anyway, never mind. Go ahead. Any final thoughts on whatever really you want?
No, I think just the clear standout is definitely Djokovic Mahac, and just Mahac is a guy that's actually, he's at a very high level at the moment, and someone is, wasn't that long ago he was playing just the challengers, wasn't he? And so his progress has been quite impressive, I think. But another guy there also from World Challengers is Alexander Vukic, who's now playing against Jack Draper at Margaret Court Arena. Pressure for Jack. I mean, after his first two matches, going through tough matches in 5, you'd think hopefully this would be easier for him, but he's playing against an Aussie. It's, that's kind of adds another dimension. So potentially it could go a bit long for him again, and let's see if he's able to handle that one.
Yeah, I think what you said, of course, 8.5 hours for Jack. It's clear that he's improving physically, but by the time he's gonna get to Carlos Alcaraz at this pace, if he even is going to get to Carlos Alcaraz, I don't trust him in that fourth round. And yeah, Vukic, strong server. Can actually he's maybe considered more of like a power hitter of the ground, but he can play with a lot of quality spin and just kind of stay consistent, especially when he's a bit nervous. So I think that might actually be very good. Like he can just play this as he did against Korda and kind of hope to outlast Jack, and this is possible. Sean is a big believer in Draper's body here cracking, and not a non-believer in Draper's body holding up in the same way. I don't know. I mean, he had that sauna practice thing, right? I don't know if you read about that, but basically Jack practiced by spending time in the sauna in order to get more ready for the hot conditions in Australia. Seems to have worked so far. So it's an unusual way of doing things, but I do like that idea. And I mean, 8.5 hours. And he's still doing fine. We don't know if he's going to be doing fine tomorrow, but that's all there is to say from us today. Again, sorry guys that we had to start it during the last match and kind of had to rush through things, but it is what it is. And I'm going to get going now. Thank you, Eddie, for the stream, and thank you to everybody in the chat. Even Nurlan, who finally is back, and he's going to be like slamming all of our Fonseca takes now. Hopefully, we're going to come up with some more players that we can disagree with and disagree on with Nurlan. And yeah, thank you, Alex, as well. Thank you, Elena, Dave, Sean, and everybody else. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.